Hi, everyone. It's from Row Phyllis. The award-winning Aaron Sorkin's adaptation of Harper Lee's Pulitzer Prize-winning masterpiece, To Kill a Mockingbird, is playing May 17th through the 29th at the Nederlander Theater in Chicago. And joining us today are some of the cast: Melanie Moore, who plays Scout Finch, and Yaegel Welch, who plays Tom Robinson. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. Our pleasure.
Absolutely. So, greatest novel of all time, an American classic. Did you guys grow up reading or watching To Kill a Mockingbird? Do you remember?
Yeah, I'll take it first, Yaegel, if you don't mind. I read the book for school, and I do remember it being I think it was in middle school. I could be wrong; it could be like early high school, but I do remember it being something that I read ahead of sort of like, the required reading timeline. Like it was like usually those things were like, oh man, I'm reading Beowulf. Like, gosh, this is gonna take forever. But it was like, I read it very quickly. I loved the book. So I've been a fan for a long time.
Yeah. How about you, Yaegel?
Yeah, I read it first in junior high school, I believe, and then I saw the movie when I was in grad school because I wanted to study performances of great African-American actors. And Brock Peters played Tom Robinson in the movie, and I said, well, let me check out To Kill a Mockingbird. And so I was familiar with it from those two experiences first, and then I ended up getting my equity card doing a touring production of To Kill a Mockingbird.
Wow.
Yeah,
really?
so,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, it's been in my life for a while. It was a very transformative story because I think for me, um, it speaks to us all having a common human experience. It sort of unites cultures across different ethnicities to come together because we all see this injustice that's happening in this story. And it's always spoken to that. It breeds a large sense of communal empathy. And that's what I take most from it.
That's amazing. How does it feel to be telling the story around the country? Is the response, you think, different in different cities?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, go ahead, Yaegel.
No, you were speaking.
Well, I just saw, I always love listening to Yaegel because he's so smart, but I'm like, wow, I didn't know you studied that in grad school. But I think that it's been interesting. I mean, we are on our 4th city right now in the tour. And I think there's a common sort of reaction to certain things, but some cities, they have more of a reaction to things, or like some people laugh, or some people like sort of because they feel uncomfortable, where other people sort of like gasp. And it's interesting because it does seem to be like whatever the first couple of audiences are, those usually set how other people start responding. But there has been like a slightly different response per city. Yaegel, have you felt that?
Sort of, kind of. Now, I have to be candid. I'm having a dip. Melanie spends a lot more time on stage than I do, and so she talks to the audience, so much more, and so she's going to have more insight on it as a whole. I found it because we haven't went to communities that are so far from. We haven't went to cities that are where political thought is so vastly different just yet. Where I would see anything, where I would notice it. What I would say is I noticed different nights.
Yeah.
It's very different. A Tuesday is very different than a Saturday night. Friday night is very different than a Saturday night, ironically. The energies of the audiences in our Sunday afternoons, usually it's filled with older audiences. And then that can be a different experience. But again, Melanie has this one-on-one with the audience where she's best fit to answer this question as a whole, because she's basically the MC.
Right.
She's Scout Finch,
I'm just on stage a lot.
You're on stage a lot. They don't take you off. That is for sure. I think that's interesting that you said that about the different audiences, different nights. That you go from a Friday. I never thought of that, especially on a Friday and Saturday night, because you would think that it would be so similar. But yeah.
Yeah.
You wouldn't.
It depends on like how much they've had to drink too.
Yes.
I'm not trying to be like, funny,
Sure.
but it's true. It is funny, but it is true. Like if an audience is feeling like a little bit tense, like, on like a Tuesday, like they've been to work, they came straight after work, they're going to be a little bit like stiffer. They're not going to necessarily laugh as much or engage as much versus like Yaegel was saying, like Saturday night, like that is a very different night. Like they haven't had work all day. They may have had like a boozy brunch, like, and they're going to feel way more empowered to laugh, to cry, to make comments, to yell back, or, so it is a very interesting, and like Yaegel was saying, I have a lot of relationship with the audience throughout the play. So he's totally right. Like, you can really feel about different audiences based off of the day and city.
You guys have, Yaegel, what's your favorite scene? Do you have a favorite scene?
There are two scenes that I really like. A character named Dill, he says a line that he said to Scout, "The things you can't see are scarier than the things you can." And I just love that moment of profundity that he sort of drops on Scout, and I watch Scout analyze it and go, "Oh, that's not really so dumb," because it's true. What we're afraid of is mostly the things we can't see, the things we don't know about other people. Right. And then there's another scene with Calpurnia and Atticus where we get to see their relationship first. We get to see, because it's not a typical servant employer relationship. They're more like family, and we sort of get to see the nuances of that. And it's kind of pleasant to see because by the end of the play, they sort of help each other grow into better people. So, and they're both just really fun scenes.
Like the first act is so funny, and then Aaron Sorkin has done such a beautiful job of really lifting the audience up, and then go into the heartbreaking stuff. So your heart is like wide open, and you've been filled with laughter, and then all of a sudden you're sort of like, oh, how do I pick up the pieces? And the characters on stage feel that ride every single night with the audience. And so, I have different favorite parts every night. Right. I always love the big court scenes because everybody is on stage, and I have less to do in those moments. But I love getting to see everyone like being alive, and it's always so fun when there's a whole bunch of people on stage because inevitably something happens and people are like, ooh, trying to catch eyes across the stage.
Right. And the energy.
Yaegel knows I love that.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys again for joining us, and we cannot wait for opening night. To Kill a Mockingbird opens on May 17th through the 29th at the Nederlander Theater in Chicago. Thank you guys, and we can't wait to see you next week.
Thank you.
I asked it the first time I met him. I said, "Tom, I got to ask you why you were doing chores for free for Miella Yule." Tom said, "I felt sorry for her." I said, "No, you can't say that. Say it looked like she could use a hand." Now, he didn't need any explanation. He knew that a Negro man can't feel sorry for a white woman, even if he sees that she's taking care of a house and 7 children with no help from her drunk and abusive father. That a simple act of compassion would be seen by this jury as an insult. We can't go on like this. We know that. So let's hasten the change. Let's hasten the end of the beginning. Let's do it right now. In Macomb. Let's begin by restoring this man to his family. Let's begin with justice. You know what happened on November 21st. You know it. Don't do this. Let him go home. In the name of God, just let him go home.